Hello everyone. I hope everyone is fine. The same question, but I always pray that you will be fine and busy learning something new every day. So today we will be learning new scheduling algorithm, priority scheduling algorithm. Priority means what? Importance. Up till now we have seen that there are processes and the processes have burst time, arrival time associated with it. Burst time means what? The time it takes with the CPU to complete its execution. And there might be arrival time. It might be same arrival time or different arrival time. If the arrival time is not given, you have to consider it zero. In first come first scheduling algorithm, what was the scenario? The scenario was that the process which comes first is allocated the CPU first. In SJF algorithm, what was the scenario? The process which requires the minimum CPU time is allocated the CPU first. And SJF can be either preemptive or non-preemptive, whereas FCFS is always non-preemptive. Now coming to your priority scheduling algorithm. In priority scheduling algorithm, the process are given, burst time is given, and along with it priority is also given. Now the situation depends upon the author or the writer or the examiner how to consider the priority. It might be the possibility that smallest number represents highest priority, first case. Second case might be largest number and largest priority. That might be the situation. But if it is not mentioned which number is related to higher priority or lower priority, we will be considering only that lower number, smaller number represents high. So let me repeat, smaller number means higher priority. Now the execution of the process will totally depend upon the priority. If two processes have the same priority, then you have to use first come first serve algorithm among those two processes which are having same priority. Beginning with our Gantt chart. For every priority scheduling, you have to make a Gantt chart. First of all, you have to study the table very carefully. You don't have to look at the burst time now, you have to look at the priorities. In case of SJF, you have to look at the burst time, but now here you have to look at the priorities. So here P2 is having first priority, smaller number, higher priority. So which process is going to with the processor? Process, it is the process P2. So which process is going with the processor? Process P2. So process P2 is going to the processor. Beginning time is always 0. Now what is the burst time for the process P1? The burst time is only 1 milliseconds. So it is going to leave the processor at time 1. Next chance is for process P5. Why process P5? Because it is having the priority 2 and it is going to execute for how many milliseconds? 5 milliseconds. 1 plus 5 is how much? 6. Next priority is of which process? P1. Only you have to look at the priorities, you don't have to look at the burst time. Now it is having how much burst time? 10. But while allocating the CPU, don't have to look at the burst time, but while execution you have to look at the burst time. Now 6 and 10 gives you how much? 16. Next chance is of process P3 because it is having the priority 4 and it is going to execute for how many milliseconds? It is going to execute for 2 milliseconds. Now 16 plus 2 is 18. And finally, which process is going to be executed? P4 it is 1 milliseconds. 18 plus 1 gives you 19. So this is the complete execution of your processes P1, P2, P3 and P4 and P5 with the priorities 3, 1, 4, 5 and 2. After making the Gantt chart, now it is the time to make the table to calculate average waiting time and average. Now from the Gantt chart, you can clearly see that the completion time of process P1 is 16, process P2 is 1, process P3 is 18, process P4 is 19 and process P5 is 6. Now the turnaround time will be same as completion time because there is no arrival time. Arrival time is 0 only for all the processes. Finding the waiting time. Waiting time is what? Turnaround time minus burst time. So 16 minus 10, that is giving you 6. 16 minus 10, that is 6. So 6. Then 1 minus 1, 0. Then 18 minus 2, that is 16. 19 minus 1, 18. And 6 minus 5, 1. So this is your waiting time and turnaround time. Then you have to find as usual average waiting time, and you have to find average turnaround time, that you can calculate it yourself. Average turnaround time. So खुश रहो, मस्त रहो and स्वस्थ रहो. Happy learning.